Here I am. I feel like this is a good time to just kind of reflect on where I am and give myself credit where credit is due and call my own bluff in places where I am not showing up and just really get real with things right now. So, since near the end of last year, I would say probably right before Thanksgiving, I really got uncomfortable. Just, I did not feel comfortable in my own skin. And I wasn't sure exactly what that meant. So I did what I often do, and I started overanalyzing every aspect of my life. And I started freaking out, thinking that everything that I've been doing over the last couple years is not the right thing. And that maybe I just need to start over, or figure out something else, or do this or do that. And oh, it was a lot. It was a lot. But in beginning to look at those things, I also began to realize that I needed to recognize that I was no longer needing to survive, that I was doing much better than what I was able to give myself credit for, because honestly, I was sort of afraid to admit that I was doing too good. Um, Nothing's perfect, but nothing's tragic either. Um, there's no need for me to make any sudden moves or dramatic changes or run in any kind of crazy directions. But it is a wonderful time to begin to look at how, now that I've established a nice firm foundation, how can I begin to build on that for myself? What are the things that I want my life to include? What are the things that I now have room for? What are the things that I find exciting or that I want to invest in or that I'm really passionate about? And how can I begin to make those things a part of my everyday experience? And, that at one time I believe that was some grandiose thing that had to look all these ways that were impossible. And what I'm beginning to realize and recognize as I truly sit with myself and get to know what it is that I'm really wanting, I'm really just wanting some very simple things that are going to take some focus and some discipline and certainly good self-care. Some things that are going to ask me to trust myself to do things that make me nervous or that I'm uncertain about. It's going to be learning to be open to new ideas, to be flexible, to not justify behaviors that aren't working. It's going to be challenging, but it's also going to be very rewarding if I'm able to let myself get excited, to believe in what I'm doing, to pick myself up if I fail, when I fail, and ask myself, what did I learn from that? And how do I use that going forward? Rather than letting it scare me or throw me off track. What do I know about that mistake? And what do I need to learn in order not to make it again? And who can I ask? Where can I find the information? What am I willing to do? How am I willing to invest my time, my energy, my focus? It's all about figuring out what it is that you're really wanting and looking at it from a place where you can start to make the next move. And so, where am I right now? And where am I needing to get or wanting to get? What am I wanting to add to my experience? And what am I willing to do? What do I have to work with? And how am I willing to support myself? Whether that's physically by taking care of my health, making sure that I'm eating properly, sleeping properly, taking good care of my hygiene, making sure that I'm physically well, drinking enough water, keeping ourselves hydrated, learning our bodies, exercising enough. Those are all investments as well. When I feel good, I'm able to do more. I'm able to think clearer. I'm able to create things that I cannot when I don't feel well. Feeling financially stable and like the things that you're investing in are things that you can financially afford. And, what are creative ways that you may be able to come up with what you're looking for? Um, you know, Maybe there are things sitting around that have a lot of value to someone else that don't hold a lot of value for you. So, how could you use those things to not only create space in your environment, but also to create an opportunity for something that you're really wanting to experience? And so, again, it's looking at where you're at, what you have, what you're willing to invest. How can you invest? What are you really needing to invest in the most? As I said, if your health isn't good, and that's a good place to start focusing. If your mental health seems to be an issue for you or a constant challenge, that may be the place to focus. The more that we explore, the more that we're going to be able to go, oh, let me deal with this. And then that will lead to the next thing and the next thing. And it's just letting ourselves be sort of guided by those things that come up, and then allowing ourselves to pay enough attention to decide where we want to go next. It's a very transitional time for me right now in just accepting that things don't have to be so hard all the time, and teaching my brain that it's really okay to relax. I feel like I have repeated this cycle so many times, but understanding how deep this really went for me, this needing to be able to feel safe and protected and to know what's coming at me. And, it just took a lot to get into a place where I could begin to trust myself again. And so every time I keep a boundary, every time I practice those things that make me feel good, every time I do something that invests in an experience that I truly deserve and truly enjoy, I remind myself that, we're no longer in that place where we have to be in constant pain. There is other experiences to be had. And as I embrace them, I realize that life can be good if you let it. I hope that some of this was helpful to you. I certainly plan on rewatching it myself and just absorbing some of this information again. We get it. Our brain just doesn't absorb it all at once. And so when we allow ourselves to just softly listen and have different outlets that reflect things to us in different ways, I think it's helpful. So I appreciate you being here and witnessing me, and I hope that you're able to take something away that will help you to be able to expand on the experience that you're wanting to have. Namaste.